Welcome to another Weather Wednesday, where we dig into weather data and how it impacts commodity markets, specifically corn and beans. This week, we're going to deviate a little bit. I'm going to kind of use a derivative of weather data, which is crop condition and crop progress information. Certainly, weather impacts the condition of the crops. It also impacts the progress of the crops, how far along the crop is at various stages and times of the year. And I want to ask the question, what do we think happens between the August forecast from USDA on corn yield and the final forecast from USDA on corn yield? And can I glean any information from some of this crop progress or crop condition data after that August forecast that can help me understand where the final corn number will land? Will it be higher than the August? Will it be lower than the August? So that's the goal of this quick session for Weather Wednesday. So let's get into it. First of all, what I have in front of you is a 21-year chart from 2003 to 2023 that shows the percentage change in the USDA's final corn yield versus the August forecast. So any of the bars that are positive, that's where the final USDA corn number ended up higher than the August forecast, and any bars that are negative, the final number was below the August forecast. So now we've had the August forecast. It's a big one, 183. And the question we might be asking is, how likely is it that we increase between now and the final forecast, or how likely is it we decrease? And can we glean anything that helps us understand that? So I spent some time kind of looking at crop condition, crop progress data. This wasn't a huge scientific research study, but just kind of playing with some data in the August time period and September time period. And I found a couple of key statistics that kind of stand out as maybe impactful for helping us predict this change in the USDA's final corn yield versus August. There's two things that stand out. One is the crop condition index in week 32. Week 32 is roughly around August 10th every year. So that's item one that kind of went into this. And then item two that also seemed to have some association with this change in yield forecast was the stage that the crop was in the early part of August, so week 31. And again, not a huge scientific study, but I just kind of wanted to focus on some of these key metrics. And what I have on the right is kind of a breakdown. What I've done is partition these two metrics. CCI stands for crop condition index, and then stage stands for what percent of the crop was in silking stage as of August 3rd. And what you'll see is the table is broken out based on whether the CCI was less than the mean, CCI was greater than the mean, and stage also less than the mean or greater than the mean. And what I'm basically showing here is in this 21 years, what percent of the time did we see CCI, the crop condition score, that was lower than average, and the stage was behind the average? So in other words, it was a later developing crop and the crop condition was worse than normal. That only happens about 9% of the time, pretty infrequent, roughly 2 years in 21. On the green box, you will see that that's when the crop is ahead of stage for this time of year, and also when the CCI is better than average. That happens about a third of the time. And then the off diagonals are where, the upper right diagonal, CCI, the crop conditions greater than the average, and the stage is less than the mean, and then the off diagonal to the lower left is stage is greater than average. We're ahead of pace, and the CCI is below average. Now, those happen about 29% of the time. So back to my previous slide, I just want to go back to this and show you that in these 21 years, the number of years that it went up, the yield went up versus August was about 43% of the time. The number of years it went down 57% of the time. So slightly better than a coin flip that it's going to go down. That's kind of what that tells you. But on average, the average change is only 0.2%, almost zero. Probably from a statistician standpoint, it would be undifferentiated from zero because there's not enough data. But if you had to guess, your best guess would be it would be up 0.2%. And what that means is even though more instances go down, that the up instances were actually more pronounced. And that's kind of what we see. On the down instances, it's easy to see kind of 2012, 2015, 2016, where you have down years, but they're very, very small. And that's kind of why. So Those counted on the downside, so it gave us more down instances, but the average change was about 0.2. So my goal is to try and see if I can better this understanding of the data with these two measures, so the CCI and the stage of the development. So here's what I came up with. When I kind of partition the data into these various boxes, I've got two result tables here. One is the probability of a yield increase. So remember that for all of 21 years, the yield goes up about 43% of the time. Okay. So what happens when I classify according to what happened in that particular year? So let's take the blue box. What that means is that it's behind stage. Stage is less than mean. It's behind normal progress, and the CCI is below the mean. In those years, it went up 50% of the time. A slight improvement over going up only 43% of the time. And then the green box is where it's ahead of pace and ahead of the crop condition average. That also went up 50% of the time. And the off diagonals, one is 33%, which is below 43%. And the other one is 43%. Now, what about the mean? So remember, our average yield change was a plus 0.2%. Now we can start to see how those averages break out by circumstances associated with what stage is the crop in and what is the crop condition score. Now, where are we this year? Well, we're in these upper right-hand quadrants of this space. The crop condition score is above the mean for this time of year. It's sitting quite a bit above normal. And also the stage of the crop is slightly behind pace. Not a huge number, but it's below mean, so it ends up in this bucket. And what we can see is that we do see yields increase only 43% of the time, which is on par with the kind of unconditional number we had before. When we just threw all 21 years together, it was 43% of the time. So that didn't change. But remember that our mean change was 0.2%. When I only focus on the years that we're in, like this year, the mean change is actually negative. And it's negative by a reasonable number, minus 0.6. May not still be statistically significant, but it is something different. So with that said, what that is telling me from the data we see today is that it's possible we see yields go up, but in the years when we're in circumstances like this with crop condition and stage of the crop that showed the most relationship to this change, it doesn't seem very likely that yield will increase. It only happens about 43% of the time. And on average in those years, we actually see yields go down on average about 0.6%. So that's my quick take of what this situation looks like this year relative to history. Hope you have a great week. We will talk to you next week on Weather Wednesday.